What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and we are in March Madness. And if you haven't seen yesterday's video, well, March Madness means I'm going through Netflix and I'm reviewing 31 good, very good, great Netflix movies. Movies I would highly recommend that were on Netflix. The idea is, I guess, that Netflix makes shitty movies, which they often do, but there are some gems, and I think we don't talk about those gems enough. And since Netflix is pretty consistent in their audio description, this gives me an opportunity to talk about films that I have yet to review that I saw before or without audio description. So today we're going to talk about The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is my second time. This is a second look, and click that like and subscribe button. I'm a blind film critic, and I would love for you guys to join me on my journey of expanding audio description and accessibility, largely through hopefully putting out the fires that are raging on diversity, equity, inclusivity, which are often the programs that support expanding things like accessibility and audio description for people like me, and also protecting our rights as disabled individuals in America, which are also currently on assault. So it's a happy time to be me. I wake up every morning, I'm like, fuck yeah, great, I love this country. So Ballad of Buster Scruggs is directed by the Coen brothers, and also written by, and it was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including screenplay, but also costume design and original song. So it has quite an expansive cast. It's an anthology movie. Um, and generally, I think it seems like people agree with me that this movie has held up. It does have a 7.2 on IMDb, which is still a good score for IMDb. If you're above 7, generally, it's a pretty good score. And it has like a 70 something on Metacritic. So, uh, yeah, it's definitely a recommend based on the numbers that you're seeing. So, um, it's when you have an anthology movie, it's tough because each segment sort of lives and dies by itself. So you'll like each segment a little bit more than another. So it's one of the reasons, even with like Kinds of Kindness, which was released in 2024, I liked 2 of the segments, but not one of them, which prevented Kinds of Kindness from not necessarily like topping my list. Like one of them, I was like, I don't know, that was all right. But 2 of them, I was like, oh, this is a good subject. And the other one, I was like, I don't know. So sometimes when you do that, you're like, this doesn't work for me. So, but a really broad, expansive cast. Tim Blake Nelson actually gets to play the titular Buster Scruggs, who's an actor who deserved an Oscar nomination. I'm just gonna say that. Could have been for this. Could be for anything really. I don't really care at this point. Just fucking nominate Tim Blake Nelson for an Academy Award. He's been turning in consistent work as a character actor, and often we forget character actors in favor of pretty people. So I'd love to see him get his due one day. I never thought it would happen for Sam Rockwell, and now he's been nominated for 2 Academy Awards. So, hey, maybe it'll happen for Tim. He's also he's backed here by, I don't know, everybody from Liam Neeson, Zoe Kazan, David Krumholtz, Tom Waits, Tyne Daly, James Franco. No, not James. Sorry, Dave Franco. Dave Franco's in this. And that's enough. That's my brain is like, I don't know, it's not processing anymore. Um, as we hop around through the segments, the first one is with Buster, and he sings and he's kind of strolling along. They're all about the Old West, and they're varying in interest. Um, Honestly, like Liam Neeson segment interested me like the least, but I liked Tim's segment, which kind of kicks it off. Um, and Tyne Daly's segment at the end really just kind of finishes it in an interesting way, not necessarily on the biggest, highest, loudest note, but in sort of an interesting journey to leave somebody sort of at the end of the road is kind of what it feels like. So Tom Waits is really good in this as out work as a singer working outside of his comfort zone. So Yeah, it has a couple nice segments. Zoe Kazan's segment is good. It has some interesting parts to it. But yeah, if I had to say that there was like one bump in the road, it would be sort of in and around Liam Neeson's segment. The stuff with like the chicken and in and around that is kind of where it drug a little bit for me. But uh, I like the movie second time through. It's not, again. This is yesterday I reviewed The Irishman, which is a Scorsese movie, and when you get these sort of iconic auteurs like the Coen brothers, it becomes really hard to say, is this the best film they've done? I have a really hard time figuring out what the best film Scorsese is that he's done. It ends up leaning towards like favorite, instead of like not tech. I'm not always thinking technically perfect, so my heart tends to lean towards Goodfellas for that answer. But I feel like I'm supposed to say Raging Bull or something, you know. But the truth is that my heart leans to Goodfellas. So for this, um, it's a little bit easier because I feel like the Coen brothers have clearly directed better movies, but they've also directed films I haven't liked. Worse that I would put below this. I'm actually not a big fan of Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which is funny because it has that would be the closest comp that I would make to the Ballad of Buster Scruggs would be Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and I just wasn't a huge fan of that movie. I'm like the only one. I know a lot of people really love that movie. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't get it. I just the humor didn't work on me." Saw it in theaters, all that stuff. But Ballad of Buster Scruggs has an anthology approach to it instead of like a straight story. And I kind of wonder if Ballad of Buster Scruggs had just been like Tim Blake Nelson on a journey, on an epic journey, a little bit like the boys in Oh Brother. Would it have? Would I have liked it as much? But because we broke it up into little stories, it's there are little pieces, and you can take each piece. It's sort of like unwrapping Starburst, and you're like, well, I don't like this color. Here, you can have the orange one, like, and taking the ones that you choose out of the packet and giving the ones to your friends. Be like, I only like these. You want the orange? You like the orange? Does anybody like the orange? Or whatever color it is for you. So, uh, with whereas with Oh Brother, it's all one thing. So you either like it or you don't. It either works for you or it doesn't. So for me, this worked, and there are some performances here that I liked. I'm a little sad it didn't get enough traction in 2018 to kind of get it more off the ground. But 2018 was pre-pandemic, and we were making like a lot of movies. So it was a much harder year. Had this been released a few years later during like a pandemic year, I don't know, it might have done a lot better. So, um, but this is a great example of one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about some Netflix movies. First of all, the audio description is excellent. I don't know who made it because there's no credit. There are no credits. I stayed all the way through to the boom, the Netflix at the end, and it never said who made this, which is troubling because the audio description is excellent. The way that the story's told, like as if you're reading a book and the turning of the pages, I thought that was really well described. The prospector has several sort of like animals in his sequence, like owls and stuff like that, that are really well described. Just sort of the mood to help set the mood. Um, Even the prospector segment with the spreading of the blood, I thought that was done really well because we kept checking on it, like we kept going back and forth, like back and looking back and it's like the blood is spreading or whatever. So the character descriptions were pretty good. Could be a little bit more, but I don't know. I mean, like you're pretty much kind of told these people, and you can. I think we all just kind of picture them in like Western gear, you know. But everybody, a lot of people, characters don't even have names. They just are things like the Frenchman. They're just characters that. It's like I guess if your character is just like a concept instead of like a full fledged character with a name, having an audio, having too many descriptors on top of you, you know, is tough. So character description not quite as amazing as some of the other stuff. I actually thought the atmosphere description was stronger in many scenes than straight up character description, and gunshots and that kind of stuff were done well. Um, it sounds great. It's mixed really well, and in general, I like it. The we use the word Indian a lot, but I under with the things with audio description is that oftentimes you're trying to use the uh, the quickest word possible, and so while Native American would feel more appropriate in this day and age, I think Indian is that's adding more syllables into descriptions, and then it cuts away from where things would take. And feel like there's still, even within the tribal lands, there's like something that's still called Indian, like the Indian tribe. I don't know. I can't think of it, but I think they still use the word in some sort of representational purpose. I could be wrong. So if somebody who is of Indigenous or Native American representation is overly offended by the perpetual use of Indian in the audio description, I hear it. I'm just not Indigenous enough at all, actually, to be personally. It did make me. It did give me pause. It's the kind of thing that I wish I was able to ask somebody and be like, "Are we good with this?" So, Ballad of Buster Scruggs. It's one of the it's like a second tier Coen Brothers movie, but there, like I said, there are other Coen Brothers movies that I don't like. There are some movies that often fly under the radar that we don't talk about much anymore, but I think the Coens are best when they're doing like these dark crime things. Like my favorite Coen Brothers movies are films like Blood Simple, Fargo, No Country for Old Men. You know, that's kind of my sweet spot with the Coens. Add to that Big Lebowski, and we're good to go. You know, like I have to have Big Lebowski in that. But yeah, they often do that other thing really well too. And to see them kind of repeating a lot of what they did in No Brother Where Art Thou with this tone of comedy, but also pulling off a Western, I think is interesting for them. And I liked it better than No Brother Where Art Thou. I think this is a strong recommend. Um, and maybe one day we'll nominate Tim Blake Nelson for an Academy Award. That would be nice. That would be nice. I'm giving The Ballad of Buster Scruggs a B plus. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And remember, inclusivity is not a bad word. It just means to include people like me. And I will see you guys on the other side.